Good afternoon. Welcome to NeoConnect 2020. NeoConnect is NeoCon's online series of resources, programming, and events designed to connect the community throughout the month of June. I'm Beth Hicks, Managing Director of Marketing for the Design Center at the Merchandise Mart, and I want to thank you for joining us. Today's session, presented by the Design Center at the Mart, is part of a month-long series of CEU webinars hosted by NeoCon. This session is approved for 1 IDCEC credit for interior designers and 1 AIA learning unit for architects. You can find details on CEU credits at the bottom of your screen momentarily in the chat. Questions will be answered the last 10 minutes of the presentation, but please feel free to enter your questions at any time during the session at the Q&A icon either at the bottom or top of your screen. So today's presentation is the 2021 CMG World Color Forecast, From Beyond the Telescope to Under the Microscope. In this session, Peggy Van Allen and Mantaha Hidifi will discuss an in-depth analysis of macro drivers influencing the 2021 plus CMG World Color Forecast, providing insight into the latest developments affecting our changing society's color consumption. CMG's color design professionals will examine their global color forecast microscopically to reveal the societal and cultural factors impacting 2021 plus color directions. CMG Key Color stories from North America, Latin America, Europe, and Asia Pacific will be in the spotlight during the presentation with an aim of supporting product design decisions for 2021 and beyond. Peggy Van Allen, President of Color Marketing Group and designer and color anthropologist with Color Fuel, is an expert in color marketing, trend forecasting, visual communications, and color palette development. Mantaha Hidifi, Vice President of Color Forecasting at Color Marketing Group and color archaeologist with Color Lighting Studio, is recognized internationally as a strategic color trend advisor and color marketer. Please join me in welcoming Peggy and Mantaha.
Welcome to Color Marketing Group, From Beyond the Telescope to Under the Microscope. We'll take a look at the entire 2021 plus World Color Forecast and look closely at the 4 trends that are emerging at an accelerated rate due to the global events happening right now. We create the forecast 2 years out, so this forecast was done in 2019. Many people want to know how a global event like the pandemic will impact the future, so we wanted to view our initial forecast through that lens. I think you'll find it interesting to see what was influencing our forecast before the pandemic and whether it has changed those projections. For those who aren't familiar, Color Marketing Group was founded in 1962. It's a not-for-profit international association of color design experts who forecast color directions. Anyone who works with color on a daily basis or who's directly involved in making color decisions for a product range or in marketing is welcome to join our organization. Our regional and international events offer workshop sessions and presentations designed to inform, inspire, and enrich our members by allowing them to connect and collaborate with other color and design professionals. Just an overview of the main points that we'll be sharing with you today. We'll be presenting the full 2021 plus World Color Forecast. We'll discuss the commonalities across the regions and then look at each region's stories and colors. We'll focus on the top 4 stories, as I mentioned, that we feel are critical in light of recent global events. We'll look at all 64 colors and discuss the directional shifts that we're seeing by color family and also how we validate those forecasted colors. And we'll have a Q&A at the end if there's time. And if you're interested in understanding the process by which CMG captures the World Color Forecast, this is a little bit of the background. It begins with the research that's done by all the color experts who contribute, both members and non-members. We have live and virtual chromosome workshops that are held, and stories and colors are gathered there. We have more extensive workshops that are typically held in Asia Pacific, Latin America, and the European regions. All the workshop results are then steered into the regional forecasts. And the compilation of those regions make up the World Color Forecast, which has been revealed at our International Summit in November. And then the final step is the members applying those forecasted colors to their industries and products. So what exactly happens at the color forecasting workshop that we call a chromosome? Typically, they range from 10 to 30 participants. The live workshops last one day. We continually evolve and adjust how we do our workshops so that it meets the needs of our members. So obviously this year with the quarantine and the lockdown, we've had to switch over to a virtual format, and those take 2 half days. Participants come from various industries. At the beginning of the day, each person shares their own trend presentation that reflects the directional stories and the color forecast for their product. Again, looking out 2 years down the road. After the presentation, the group spends time discussing, dissecting, and narrowing down the information. The participants are divided into groups that can look deeper into each topic and its ramifications to color. They discuss the whys, what were the influences and the drivers behind each color trend story. We also take into consideration the timing of the trend stories and the colors, as well as the materials and finishes and which industries they might impact. It's a really deep dive into human behavior, economy, politics, both globally and locally. This is a snapshot from just 1 year of workshop colors. There's 16 colors per workshop. And then the participants each receive a report from the workshop as well. And if you're a member, you receive all the pre-steered reports at the end of the year. Each of the regions that CMG represents must then steer their regional chromosomes so that the results are then the forecast for that region. And those are the building blocks then of our world forecast. Now we're going to take a little look at the color stories and of the 4 different regions. As I mentioned, there's 64 colors and 12 color stories. When we're analyzing our stories, we're seeing an intersection and commonalities between the regions. In this example, beautiful waste from North America, Phoenix rising from the ashes from Asia Pacific, Pure Land from Asia Pacific, and Planet Living from Europe all have similar keywords: sustainability, renewable, rethinking, healing, regenerate, rebuild, planet home, truth-telling, nature, home, and peace. And then these trends: insatiable appetites from Europe, control escape, Z to alpha from Latin America, lazy society and the new playground from Asia Pacific. They're all about exploring your inner child, the alpha and Z generation, AI and voice control, integrated technology, both good and bad, the counter to all the technology, that search for real experiences and emotions, and the need for brightness, all common themes for these stories. Commit less from North America, and the best is yet to come from Latin America. They have that commonality of a need to reinvent ourselves and silence our minds. Shared archetypes from Europe, and I've got roots from Latin America. Both embrace history and traditions, cultural pride, and the importance of symbolism. So now we'll take a look at the European report. This is all 64 colors in the forecast, and those that are from Europe. We'll just briefly touch on 2 of the stories before we get into the deeper look at the one story that we felt is more important to discuss today. It's a lot of information to cover, so we're going to kind of whiz through it a little bit. But the first story is Insatiable Appetite. This is about the consumption of emotions, those that are fake, those that are real. Consumers are searching to re-stimulate their emotions. They want to, those feelings of true emotions give us a kick, and we want to, we're living in a world where we're doing, whether it's online gaming or screen time, binge watching series, the experiences we get there is very much real and alive, yet it does disconnect us from our real life. The younger generations, on the other hand, also are trying to numb their emotions when they're suffering or when life gets tough. We see that mental numbing going hand in hand with the rise of recreational marijuana use that's all over Europe. And the colors for this trend, they translate sort of into a more harmonious color clash. The colors challenge the normal perception where no rules are applied. The colors allow us to make individual statements. So fashion in particular is driving this trend story. Our next story, shared archetypes. It comes from our desire for some depth in a superficial and fast-moving world. People feel lost and are without direction. Old symbologies dusted off and given new meaning. Mysticism offers guidance where contemporary leadership seems incompetent. Answers are found in our very own historical references. The colors here they mix our quest for knowledge from the past of our forefathers' ancient rituals with today's need for dusty, chalky colors that evoke calmness, but also mystery. And getting out our microscope, the planet living room color story, we highlight for Europe. It's key in this post-pandemic climate. How do we identify home? It's not just a place, it's a feeling. The way we feel about our homes is how we'll start to feel and how we'll start to treat our bigger home, our planet. Your bathtub isn't filled with plastic waste, is it? Trash tourism, it's on the rise. The company Plastic Whale takes you on a sustainable journey for your holidays, cleaning up beaches and oceans while you're enjoying your free time. Not only is the environment becoming more in focus, but our idea of home is shifting. We see boutique hotels where we can feel as if we're at home when we're traveling, when we get back to traveling, that is. Coffee shops, they look like a residential kitchen, so home away from home. Another aspect of this trend is when we're at home, everyone can speak their mind. Silence is not golden. Telling the truth is important when you speak with your friends and family, even if it isn't easy. Your home is filled with love, and we should feel we can speak our truth there. So we're seeing the Generation Z stepping up, skipping class to protest for a better life. Young girls such as Greta Thunberg and Delaney Tarr, they're marching to improve the world. The color palette for this story has an eclectic style. There's a mix of textiles, tactile properties, and colors, but with one thing in common. There's nothing harsh or abrasive to the senses. The colors are chosen deliberately and with great care. There's a variation in the neutrals and the darks with some pops of color. And now I'll show you a video of all three stories from Europe. now we'll take a look at the North American report. Again, here are all 64 colors and those from North America. So our first story is Beautiful Waste. It's an evolution from our trash catastrophe story that was for 2020, talking about waste and how the disposal of waste continues to be a global dilemma. So how do we get rid of our trash and be genuinely sustainable and financially viable? Companies will introduce products with their life cycle predetermined and then move beyond that to new uses. Waste is good for business. Waste needs to become a commodity, to be art, to be fuel, to be re-engineered, and to be adored. Renewable materials and rethinking of how we use everything is key. Trash is colorful and inspirational. We see world-renowned artists using it in their installations. As 2021 approaches, we will embrace our trash and reconsider what is possible, build economic opportunities, and create something new with our beautiful waste. The colors, some of the interesting colors here: paper bag, it's that statement beige, it's just what we kind of call a sustainable color. Mist is one of our key colors for North America. It's a cleansing breath, positivity and light. Wow, kind of a bold, fearless green. Our second story for North America is Commit Less. We're living in a relentless world of political unrest, unsettled economies, and daily uncertainty for so many years that it's driven us to become a commitment-phobic nation. With no clear vision of what our long-term future will be, we live in a fear of the unknown. We have heavy subscription formats that allow us the freedom to take risks now with little fear of failure. The millennial view on renting takes center stage. Why pay for repairs and be locked into a single location when you can change your location and lifestyle as necessary or wanted? Hoarding lifestyles are a thing of the past. Ownership will go down and possessions will be borrowed, not owned. Hoarding lifestyles, oh, I think I already said that. Again, the colors wow is also in this color story. And Power Red evokes a feeling of luxury in cars and materials. And then we have the more grounding colors like Uprooted and Human. It's a rugged orange brown that stands up to strong usability in the rental world. Our microscope is going to zoom in on the North American trend, time warp. Synergy is the way forward. Balance is the means. Well-being is the result. The destination is the same, but the path is different. We find ourselves in a 24/7 time warp society. Our traditional thought of timing is changing, and we move beyond set time zones, opening up the ability to co-work from global officeless workspaces. In 2019, we identified this trend pre-pandemic. Now we see this trend amplified, and certainly it's moved at warp speed. Working from home jumped 10 years in the last 3 to 4 months, and the genie is not going to go back into the bottle. Some of the pre-pandemic factors that have fed into this trend, the rising cost of living in cities, long commutes, the desire for flexibility, it's driving the workforce to find alternate ways of collaborating. Worker flexibility creates better work, and companies are eager to jump on board. Being comfortable with technology easily enables us to shift into this mindset also. That new evolving technology of artificial lighting and super fast 5G networks enable us to operate as our chronotype was meant to be. We align our work schedules with our natural circadian rhythms. Our health is going to improve overall. Businesses will request that their workforce work when we are the most productive and creative, whether you're a morning bird or a night owl. So that standard 9 to 5 work week is becoming a thing of the past, but it does require a cultural shift. Our environment takes on a new look as technology assists us more with life overall. We choose to think of ourselves versus allowing technology to take control. It's through our choices in technology that we have come to the point in which we're more selective and intentional in the ways that we interact or choose not to interact with that technology. Some of the colors here, Mist again makes an appearance. That key color is also present in this palette. Reconnect, it represents that bridge between artificial and natural realities. Synergos, it's the way forward with a balanced color. And now the video for North America. And now I will hand it over to Montaha.
Thanks, Peggy. So the forecast for the next forecast we're going to see, we're going to talk about Asia Pacific. So the forecast for Asia Pacific, it actually highlights the region's concerns with uncertainty, climate change, drought, floods, fire, and even more. And this was predicted in 2019, even before the forest fires in Australia and before the COVID pandemic. So much of what we perceive is beyond our control, but we ask, what can we do? The stories deal with harnessing the attributes of artificial intelligence, taking personal control of how we live and how that impacts the globe. Change can take many forms. Healing the mind through the power of further education leads to a new path, a new career or lifestyle. So this is the World Color Forecast palette, and this is the Asia Pacific forecast. So we're going to take a telescopic look at two stories and one microscopic look at one of them. So Pure Land is the first one. Pure Land is a place where nature and home come to rest, inspired by travel. The story comes alive with colors from nature and the historical influences from afar. It's about personal spaces enhanced by nature. Plants, wood textures, flat surfaces, neutral comforting colors create a cozy environment. The forecast brings historic colors that can be incorporated into modern innovative finishes. For instance, greenery is a fresh yellow-based green that brings the countryside into our daily lives. Morandi blue is inspired by the artworks of Giorgio Morandi. Fundament is a foundation color that creates a peaceful, secure home environment. Thyme is a pure and fresh scent that creates a peaceful and secure home environment again. And Phoenix is a traditional historic complex red weathered by time. The second story is Lazy Society and the New Playground. So indoor and outdoor activities become more vital for the health and well-being, including having fun and sharing with friends online and in real time. This is an example of where the forecast is evolving and accelerating. The pandemic forcing us to rely on tech and use it to travel virtually. So virtual reality offers new possibilities for exploring history from the home. Artificial intelligence is used for convenience, and we believe that this trend will grow as germ-free surfaces become more important. The play aspect of the trend deals with all ages trying to play and explore their inner child, which brings feeling of extreme happiness to all of us. We can see in this palette the colors are vibrant, playful, and make us feel happy. And now we look into the main story from Asia Pacific, which is Phoenix rising from the ashes. So as we process the global events that are affecting us right now, we felt that this story was a key story from Asia Pacific. It highlights the ongoing need for action to protect the environment, heal ourselves, and create a wider movement for global healing for a more peaceful world. It deals with ongoing concerns about the safety of existing buildings and the infrastructure and the need for accountability and consumer protection. The focus is on safe building and rebuilding with sustainable material. Mindful of the impact of waste, people are taking action. Caring for the land, absorbing carbon through new farming practices may counteract the loss of rainforest. The time is running out, and we want to aim to reach zero emissions. We need to rely on nature's power to regenerate and heal ourselves. So by 2021, hopefully the phoenix will have risen from the ashes. The color of the story, we have Take a Hike, which is a rocky hue, is intense black and blue-gray. It's inspired by charred wood and nature's power to regenerate. Natural wool is a warm beige with a hint of red. It stands for warm and coziness. Zero yellow is a pastel with a green undertone. Amazon illustrates the scorched earth. It's a rich red-brown with yellow undertones. It waits for the rain for protection and the hope for renewal. In Calm Down, it heals both the mind and the world to be reborn a safer and more peaceful place. This is the video. So we're going to move now to talk about the color forecast in Latin America. So again, this is the World Color Forecast, and these are the colors for Latin America. We start with the first story, which is Tengo Raíces, or I've Got Roots. And this story brings the indigenous faces and puts them in the spotlight. Less of a Western influence creates space for new ideas. No perfection, no discrimination. Cultural pride and value from the wisdom of the ancestors. It's about the return to local handmade artisanal products. It's about sensory experiences, aromas, tastes, and sounds. The colors stem from the land, the jungle, and the desert. So we see the first color here is Pachamama, which is a Quechua word that means Mother Earth. Then we have Pachamama is a reddish brown of the earth and its minerals. It's a symbol of fertility and productivity. Without the land, we have no roots. A ritual is a dark orange. It represents the wisdom and creativity we need to perform daily rituals. It's influenced by turmeric. Tierra Caliente is a saturated red that symbolizes the fertile land. Artesano is a green of the orchids of antiquity. It embodies the art of our ancestors to transform what is born on earth and convert it for holistic use through sensory experiences, aromas, textures, and flavors. And finally, Amalgama is an intense brown. It mixes old traditions with new production methods. Our next story is Control Escape from Z to Alpha. This story deals with the difference between Gen Z and the Alpha generation, but from a tech perspective. So Gen Z understands digital pollution and smartphone addiction, while Alpha generation, basically, they don't know how to live without technology. So the story raises a lot of questions about how the Alpha generation would live in the future and how they would deal with technology. The color of this story basically symbolizes the contrast between the two generations, darkness and lightness. If we look at the first color, Libertad Virtual, which is virtual freedom, it's an energetic, deep blue. It satirizes the darkness of our gadget screens. Next to it, we have Digital ID, or Identidad Digital. It's a cloudy light blue. It evolves from the modernity and the simplicity. Then we have Gen Z, which is a very dark gray, almost black. It springs from the vast space that the internet represents. Alphas is a matte pastel white. It's a symbol of youth, freshness, and life force. It represents the enthusiasm, knowledge, and young spirit of Generation Alpha. And then Tech Narration is a genderless high chroma matte coral. It emerges from coral reefs as a color to decontaminate and purify the virtual life of the generations that breathe and consume technology without limitation. And now we're going to look at the first story under the microscope. Lo mejor está por venir. The best is yet to come. So there is something missing within us, a purpose for our lives. Loneliness and anti-depression looms. We seek energy to wake us up. Our search is epic for the divine, faith, contentment, and inner wealth. We concern ourselves with health, internal growth, and transmutation. And we choose healthy habits, prayers, mantras, inner balance, calmness, mindfulness. Ambitious in our search for simplicity and gentility, we observe holistic lightness and create meditation spaces everywhere in our lives. Silencing the mind allows us to reinvent and charge ourselves. Change is paramount. We change our views, our interior. We find the truth in feminine spiritual energy. It's our rebirth, the power, the guide. In healing, we find the truth and gain confidence. We trust this positive energy and stop comparing and judging. Connecting to ourselves, valuing our time and small moments of happiness and gratitude, we accept our imperfections. Making new habits of valuing ourselves is the surprising victory. The colors of the best is yet to come are soothing and happy. Renacer, which is also the key color for Latin America, which means reborn, is a complex purple with blue and red influences in its DNA. It represents femininity and masculinity in a balanced way. Aura Dorada, or golden aura, is a master yellow, very saturated. It's a representation of the divine energy that is hidden within each of us. Busco, or I seek, is a bright and subtle lilac, an awakening of a new consciousness, a voice that fills the horizon with humility and spontaneity. Contentamento is a bright pink. It represents the need for more love within the family and among your friends. Verde de Cura, which is a healing green, it moves us to health and gives us strength. Where one imagines that there is no more life, green is an awakening of something new, a rebirth. Divino Destino is an oceanic blue, epitomizes the divine encounters we least expect, and that leads us to new path. And now I'm going to show you the video to recap. right, so now we will examine the color direction as a whole. You probably already noticed that the direction for 2021 includes much rich and warm yellows, oranges, and reds, and very few cool hues in the green and blue families. So yellows is the biggest family for the 2021 forecast. And besides the sunny yellow from Europe, Arcanist, and the reddish yellow from Latin America, which is Aura Dorada, the yellows are more subdued and reflect the overarching trend of sustainability. Like the paper bag from Europe, and it's a sign, sorry, the paper bag from North America, and it's a sign from Europe. They both indicate the use of cardboard and recycled paper. Then we have the oranges, which is the second largest family of colors for 2021. We see a direction for warmer, darker terracotta and oranges that almost look like browns, accompanied by soft peaches that come from Latin America. Then we have the reds. There are fewer number of reds compared to 2020, and the more muted reds from the past shifted to oranges in many cases. As I mentioned, there are fewer number of blues than before, than 2020. And when we look at them, they are not really pure blues. They are infused with reds and greens undertones. When we look to the purples for 2021, we only have 3 colors in the color forecast. However, if we take into consideration the previous slide with all the blues, we notice that the blues have a lot of reds in them, which can be considered sometimes as purples. The greens are giving room to more warmer colors, as I mentioned, yet we see a wider range of choices with the greens, like from very saturated greens like wow to a more soothing green like verde de cura. And then we have the neutrals. The neutrals basically, they grew from 2020, so we have more neutrals for 2021, but they are not your usual neutrals. What we see here is colored infused with warm yellows and reds, or cools infused with blues and greens. So they depict the need for reinvention and silence together with sustainability. And last but not least, these are the 4 key colors from the 4 regions. So from Europe, we have Raison d'être, which is a very light beige. In Asia Pacific, we have, sorry, I don't know why the name doesn't show here. And then the key color for North America is Mist, and the key color for Latin America is Renacer.
Unicoral was
Unicoral, thank you. Thank you, Peggy. And so to wrap up the presentation, we wanted basically to highlight how we track the forecasted colors. And so each year we create a card showing the evolution of colors. And the evolution shows basically how the colors went over the last 5 years. So here you have 4 color evolutions for 4 different regions. And so this is a member-specific tool that is delivered usually at the CMG International Summit. And then we have the validation of the colors. So to establish that what we are forecasting is accurate, our members around the world, and we have a color alert committee, they do research the markets for confirmations of the color directions in the market. So each month we validate 1 color that we see emerging in the markets. And these alerts basically appear on social media, and but only the members receive the deeper dive into the colors. And finally, I wanted to share this with you. This year, our international summit is going virtual, so that's going to be in November. So there are 2 links here. Is a link to, if you need to know more information, you can use this link. And otherwise, you can send an email to Sharon Griffiths, our executive director, or you can visit the website. We are also launching 2 new virtual events soon. We have the Color Speak, which will showcase the members of the CMG discussing various topics regarding colors or color in general. And then we have the Color Chat, which will be a networking event with CMG members, and it's also going to be open to non-members, I think. And now I believe we can take questions and answers, so I'm going to stop the share here.
Wonderful, great, thank you so much. So we have some questions coming in here. So the first one, I'll let either one of you take this, is do you believe climate warming affects color forecasting?
Well, I think you have to look at the, it's a bigger picture of our awareness of anything going on in the world, and certainly global or climate warming or any sort of environmental things. As you saw in all of our stories, in each region it touched on it somewhere, our attention to nature and our attention to the planet, and how it has our focus has increased and our action has increased, and we certainly see that moving into next year and the year after. And so yes, it will affect the colors and the forecasted colors for sure.
And do you ladies see that the color forecasts are cyclical? Like, do the colors come around on an ongoing basis?
Yeah, I would say they do. Yes, I think but it varies. I mean, you could look at it as going from warm to cool, that cycling out, or I think we're moving definitely into a warmer cycle right now. But the saturation level that you have to look at, the saturation level and the lightness and the darkness of the colors, and those all are going to vary. So for example, you might think of the warm colors from the 70s, and are they coming back? Well, no, those colors are different. They had a different type of saturation. They had a different maybe emphasis, or the way those colors were combined. So it's very different, but there certainly are cycles that we see, yes.
Montaha, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I just probably want to say that also the raw materials usually that colors are produced with, they will change the colors. So like Peggy said, the colors from the 70s, yeah, we can see them coming back, but because the raw materials are different, they will not be exactly the same. So that also have an influence.
Wonderful. And we have a question here about how does a participant get to be part of the Chromazone workshop?
Sure, it is open to members and non-members. If you go to the link that is in the chat window that Beth already uploaded, there is a link there that will take you to either the Color Marketing Group website or an email for Sharon Griffiths, who's our executive director, and she can give you any information that you might want as far as, you know, becoming a member or just joining a workshop. She'll help you out.
Wonderful, great. There's a question here about, do you see the importance of color increasing due to COVID-19 and what we're currently experiencing? And how do you think that'll affect colors moving forward?
Well, I think we're certainly in a stage right now of sort of wait and see. A lot of companies maybe are holding back on decision making, but a lot of the color decisions that they made were made a couple of years ago, and they're already in production, and those things are already happening. So in that respect, the colors that we're already committed to, which is what is forecast, those will continue. So I think the one thing that our economic situation right now is causing to happen is that the importance of colors and getting the right colors has increased. For sure, companies are much more cognizant of that fact, that they can't just take a gamble. They need to know which colors are going to be popular and which colors the consumers are ready for, and that is what our members are doing by communicating with each other and working together in these workshops.
And one thing maybe I would like to add to what Peggy said is that during difficult situations like, you know, pandemics or economic situations that have happened in the past or that will happen in the future, we don't see basically that the consumption of color changes. We are going to still consume colors because the products that we buy, they don't come like colorless, right? every single product that we buy has to have a color. But what the like the pandemic and other events do to the colors is they change the direction of that color. So like Peggy said, they become either more, maybe more muted or more saturated or more darker or more whatever direction they can take. But in general, and what we have seen so far, because color is so connected to our psyche, we need color, you know, especially in this situation that we have been in. You know, it's a gloomy day. The pandemic is a gloomy day for all of us. So how do we get out of this gloom, and how do we support or give love to ourselves? Is through color.
Wonderful. And someone here is asking for a hint of the July color of the month. Is there anything you can share about that?
Check out our social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Someone else had asked about the key colors, and I realized we did go through, this is a ton of information that we tried to cover in an hour. And I know it's, if there's certain things like the key colors, we do share outside the membership, and you can find those on any of our, on the Facebook page or on Instagram. Some of the things that we can't share everything because it is exclusive to the members, but there is a lot of information that you can find on those social media sites.
And if anyone
Wonderful.
needs more information, they can always email us. Like they can email Sharon, and Sharon will pass the email to the person that is required.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And
also you can
today,
follow us online, and you can, like, you know, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., and then we can answer your questions.
Wonderful. And this presentation is being recorded and will be on neocon.com in just a few days. So you can definitely rewatch the presentation and go through those different segments. But Peggy and Mantaha, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for everybody who joined us today. And we have 2 more weeks left of NeoConnect, so definitely check out neocon.com for more information and our next presentation. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you for having
Thanks,
us.
Beth.